everybody. Again, it's the Steckline Report. Thanks for joining us. We have a special guest. Again, Secretary of the State of Kansas is with me, Dale Rodman, and we're going to talk about raising more milo. And we've got some other things. Stay tuned.
I first got started in the cattle business. My wife and my father-in-law got me into it. I love dealing with the animals and being in the outdoors. At American Ag Credit, I know a lot of them are in the same business that I am. Therefore they understand what I need and what problems I'm against, so they can work with you on it, and it makes it much easier.
It's been passed down to me through the generations, and I want to pass it on down to the next generation or two.
At Case IH, we are committed to being in the field, working with producers. That's why 2/3 of our experts are out there helping them with on-site solutions to increase power, improve efficiency, and maximize their productivity. The world of farming is changing, and we'll be there to ensure you're ready.
I'm ready. Visit your local straw dealer today.
Secretary of Agriculture of Kansas, Dale Rodman, my special guest today. And I got to tell you, Mr. Secretary, you're just telling me before we went on the air that you'd like to see more milo being grown. But I got to tell you, I think there's going to be some piled on the ground this fall.
Well, that's good, and I just came back from western Kansas yesterday, and I saw quite a few fields, and I hope it's piled on the ground, and I hope it's piled on the ground in front of the ethanol plants.
Well, that is a good point. You brought up something, though. We're producing and have a whole lot less acres than we used to have of milo.
Yeah, milo, first off, it hasn't had the technology put into it, and it's kind of an afterthought. Of course, number one, soil temperatures, you can't plant it early, so you can plant it late if you have problems with other areas. And secondly, because the lack of herbicide and genetics has gone in, the lack of it into sorghum development, and we have products such as corn and beans that increased in yields 1.5, 2 bushels an acre per year, that sorghum becomes the stepchild or the afterthought, and it's also a lot more fun to grow corn.
Well, maybe. Not for this farmer, I'll tell you what. I fed more coons than I fed the elevator when I grew it. But in any event, we got to talk about a farm bill that can't get passed in Washington. What do you think?
Well, we desperately need one. I'm sure my numbers aren't 100% correct, but our previous farm bill is about $145 billion. Of that, I think nearly 125 was the nutrition plan. Sure. And if you go back in history, when our good Senator Bob Dole set that program up to get the votes to get that done, I think the nutrition bill was 10 or 15 billion, and I'm sorry to talk about billions in that manner, but guess that's what it is. But we actually, I'm told, we have more fraud in the food nutrition bill than we spend on soil conservation today. And listen, and the U.S. Department of Agriculture, looking at what they do and what they try to do, we really need to get back to the basics, what built this country, and get into research and development, because we're going through the most technological change in agriculture in its history. That plus basic solid crop insurance would do a lot for our farmers in the state of Kansas.
You, as Secretary of Agriculture, do you have any input, or do you make yourself available to those people in Washington to tell them a little bit about what we in Kansas want?
I do every time I can, and we work very closely with our legislators, our senators and representatives. As you know, Pat Roberts has been on those committees for years. And yes, we do, but we're just a small vote. And remember, Kansas is pretty small in the picture of the United States.
No doubt about that. The cattle business, still going good. Prices are good. The income from not only cattle but agriculture as a whole sure has to help the state of Kansas. I hope you tell the governor that.
Well, we know that very well. Well, our ag industry is the largest industry in Kansas. Used to live in Wichita, and I like Wichita, but And now and then, the airplane boys, they line up and say they got more than we do. But when you put it all in the same one pile, it's without a question, it's the largest industry in the state of Kansas, and cattle is the core of that. And we have a very, very integrated system. We have some tremendous competitive advantage. Number one, because of our location. We grow about 2 million head of cattle a year, and we process 6. So we can bring the spring-born calves from the north, which are the English-bred cattle. We can bring Georgia cattle in the winter. We've got the Flint Hills, which got low cost of gain, and we got wheat pasture low cost of gain, and we have a pretty good cost basis for our grain in western Kansas to feed the cattle. We have many challenges in and around that. The demand for beef protein continues to go up. Our cow-calf herds are all-time low. And however, our productivity is up because we're getting 35% more pounds of beef per animal than we used to. But we need more females, and we can't keep up with the demand, and we got a lot of competition coming from all over the world.
Sounds like a pretty good business to be in.
It's one, but we need to grow into the other animal agriculture in Kansas as well.
No doubt about that. That's our Secretary of Agriculture of Kansas, Dale Rodman. I'm Larry Steckline, and thanks for being with us.